Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as my friends over at yarnspirations.com. Today we're going to do the striped Greek key throw. I'm going to teach you the multiples, and this pattern was developed by Melissa Liebman, and this was for Red Heart. So I'm going to be using Red Heart Super Saver on camera today. Also going to be using a 5.5mm size eye crochet hook in order to play. Now there's a lot of written instructions as you'll see, and you'll see page 1 and 2, but I have an exclusive downloadable that you can download because I had Daniel map it out on a diagram, and I'll show you how to use this, and you'll see that it's actually really an easy repeat pattern in order to maintain. So let's take a look at a sample that I did using Bernat Velvet Baby Crushed, and it turned out really quite fabulous. So here's the Greek key. Really quite an easy pattern to be able to maintain. It's in multiples of 6 as you're going across. It's a really easy short repeat, so it actually is easy to remember. I keep saying the word easy today. So once you get the one section done, then you'll have 4 that you'll see here, and then continuing along into the next one. So the only difference between this one and the sample is, if you notice the sample, they just change the colors of the keys just every other one. So that's just something that you can decide to do for yourself. But let's go to the fun diagram, because that's going to be what's going to make or break you today. So in the diagram today, I had Daniel map it out based on the written instructions. So I drew it out as a crochet diagram, and then I had him map it out as a graph. So you can actually do it this way as well. So the neat thing about this is that if you've done the Nordic throw, you've done the Joanne stitch along, you've done the baby mosaic heart, it's exactly the same concept. So the baby mosaic heart was actually done in the same kind of pattern. So what you're going to notice is that when you see solid, so there's colors. So every color is 2 rows. So you go across and then back, and then you just drop the color, don't break it, and then grab the next color and go there and back. But you're going to notice that there's boxes that appear in between. So this is the main color of the line, and the other colors are the ones that drop down. So let's explain that a little bit further. So let's take a look at this row here. So we have the gray, and so you're gonna say, okay, the first 2 are single crochets, and then there's a white box here. That means that when the white appears in the next time that it shows up, it's gonna drop down as a double crochet into the existing white that's down here. It's what creates the lines. So whenever you have this, those white spots here would represent a chain 2. So even though you're skipping only 1 stitch, you have to chain 2 to make room for that dropping down that come. So what you're gonna have then is the next 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is this color again, and then you chain 2, skip the next stitch, and then etc. So you would see that in this particular row all the way across, you'll see that it's multiples of 6. So repeat, repeat, repeat. The only difference is that you have to watch the edge. The edge has a little bit of a piece of both of the colors on there, and that's because that you are using that as the color as you're going across. So it's a really neat way to be able to maintain. So you just want to watch where the colors drop down. So if you look at the white and you're doing white, you'll see that there's a drop down, so you'll chain 2 immediately into the next one, and then you'll be in a white again, but this white will then drop down. And I'm explaining it, but it's really not that hard. So we're gonna be able to do that. So this here instruction is also explaining the same kind of concepts, and also we have instructions on this kind of concept where you want to skip over stitches as well. So I think enough chitter chatter. Let's get at her. Let's get our crochet hook out, and let's create the foundation row. And the foundation row is in multiples of 6 plus 4, but you can obviously just do it as per the instructions as well. So you will notice that it will say chain a certain amount of that you need, and so then that's something that you can decide for yourself. So let's get our yarn ready, and let's get playing today. So we're gonna get going. You'll notice in the pattern it doesn't say how many to start with the chain. It's in multiples of 6, then plus 4. So the 4 is to allow it to be able to turn. So I looked at the particular blanket and looked at the number of multiples. There appears to be multiples of 21. So what I estimated that if you did to it exactly as the pattern stated, I'm estimating that it's 130 stitches. So it would be 21 times the multiple of 6, and then plus 4 chains that gave me then 130. So without further ado, let's begin. I'm just gonna do a small sample with you. So I'm gonna chain in multiples of 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then once if you're happy with it, then you stop. If not, keep on going. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then keep on going. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So if you're happy with it, I'm just doing a small sample today. Just add another 4 chains, and then you're good to go. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So there is the balance point. So once you're satisfied with the length of your chain, then let's go and do row number 1 and 2, which is the foundation row. Starting second chain from the hook, so just turn it around so you see there, go to the second and go to the back hump only, and just single crochet along the chain. You don't have to worry about counting, just one single crochet in each of the chains going all the way back to the other side. So let's do that. Once you're all the way to the other side, just turn your work and let's go back and then just chain 1 and 1 single crochet in each of the stitches all the way back. So let's continue to do that, and I'll see you at the end of this row. Now that I'm coming all the way back, I want to, in the last stitch, I want to single crochet, but I want to not finish this stitch. So I'm just going in, pulling through, and then grab the other color, just create a slip knot and throw it on and pull through. So you're going to drop the green, you're not gonna cut it, and now you're going to use the brown here for the next 2 rows, and then you'll drop that and then bring back the green. So let's just turn our work and lay this down, and let's go back to the diagram and show you what you're gonna get involved with today. So in the worksheet here I have just labeled what these are. So the first one is the color green, and then it's gonna be brown and green, brown and green. So you might want to do that. I left space for you to do that. So now we've already just finished the first rows. So now what I'm gonna do is gonna take a sticky note and then just cover over top everything else but the next 2 rows, which will be the brown. So in this particular concept, when you start, your first 2 will be then brown, and then because this white is gonna come back down, so the green's gonna come back down eventually, is that you want to chain 2 space there, skip this, and then continue the next 5, chain 2 and skip just a stitch, and do that all the way across right to the very end. When you come back, it's always gonna be like the mosaic crochet, so it's gonna match stitch to stitch, chain for chain. So when you come back, every one of these stitches in the gray here will all have a single crochet, and if there's a chain 2 space at all, you need to chain 2 space and jump over it. So the first row that we're gonna create is going to be what you can see when the blanket's laying down, and the second row, when it comes back with this color, is just gonna be the reverse side, which is gonna create a striping effect, and so you don't need to worry about that side as hard as you do with the first side. Let's begin the next row. So let's begin. We're gonna chain up 1, and the first 2 are gonna be this brown. Okay, so you're just gonna pull through, so single crochet and single crochet. It's a nice easy quick repeat. So then you chain 2, skip the next one, and then the next 5 are each a single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then you're gonna skip again. So chain 2, skip the next one, and single crochet in the next 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then chain 2, and keep doing that all the way to the end, and the last 6 will each be a single crochet, because you have to compensate for that border, or for the border edge that will be in this particular blanket. So now that you've gone all the way across, you have your chain 2 spaces, turn your work around, and so you match stitch to stitch. So if it's a single crochet, match it and be a single crochet. If it's a chain 2 space, keep it as a chain 2. So going forward in this tutorial, I'm going to say when you're looking at the back, match stitch to stitch, chain to chain, and then you're good to go. So go all the way back, and then I'm gonna show you how to change the color back to green, and then we're gonna do the rest of this. Pretty power our way through this. When you come all the way back, you're gonna switch your color back to the green. So when you drop the color, just make sure the color goes out of your way so it's not in your face, and so then just pull the green through. And what I like to do is take this color and just pull it towards my lap, so it's just more sitting on my lap and out of the way. So now we're gonna begin the next 2 rows using this green. So let's go back to the diagram and see what we're gonna get ourselves into. So we're now switching to green. So this will be the main color. So the first one's gonna be the green color, and you'll notice that the gray is coming down, so that has to be a chain 2 space because the gray will pop down in front of here. The next one is going to be a double crochet that's going to come down into this space here. You see that it's going all the way down. The next one is a space. So these gray in this particular rows will be the chain 2 spaces, and then the other rows are the single crochets unless it extends down into the 2 rows below, if that helps you to know that. Again, another easy repeat as we're going. So essentially what we're doing is we're defining the inside of the key. So when you look at this particular sample right here, you're defining those right here in the middle of a key. So let's begin to do this next 2 rows. Okay, let's begin to do the next 2 rows. So we're gonna chain up 1 and the first one only has a single crochet, and so we have to make space then for the next ones that will jump down. So chain 2 and then come right into this stitch here. So when you go down, you're gonna wrap the hook and you're gonna go right into this stitch down here and then just double crochet yourself back up like so. So you're defining the lines, and then chain 2 to create another space, skipping the next one just after the space, and then because that's what that chain 2 is covering, and then single crochet the next 3. So 1, 2 and 3. So let's do this again. So you're gonna chain 2, you're gonna skip the next one, and immediately just come down to this one right here, and then you're gonna chain 2, skip the next one right after the space, and single crochet the next 3. So 1, 2, 3. Do you get it? So this space here, you have to skip the ones before and after to make that happen, and when you skip them you chain 2 first and then jump down, chain 2, skip the next one and do the next 3. So you're gonna come and you're gonna come all the way to the end eventually, and you have to chain 2, the second last one, and then just skip this second last one and just single crochet in the last. So take a look at your sample. Does it look right? Yes or no? And then remember, when you turn it around, match stitch to stitch, chain for chain. So if it's a single crochet, keep it, or if it's a regular stitch, keep it as a single crochet, and chain 2 spaces, just keep it as a chain 2, and go all the way back and meet me back here in just a moment. So we're now moving up with brown. So the first 2 are going to be a regular stitch. So you got the first one, it's a single. This one has to drop down because you see it's popping down into the 2 rows below it. The next one is a space, so you'll chain 2 over that and skip it. The first one down after that is gonna have to come down, and then the next 2 are regular single crochets and then a space. So then you'll come down in the next one and then a space, come down in the next one and then 2, and you'll see that it's really gonna start taking effect. So let's do the next 2 rows of using the brown. So just carrying up your colors, make sure you did change it back, and we're gonna be covering that over with the border, so don't need to worry about that so much. So chain 1 to start, and then you're single crocheting the first one, and then the next one jumps all the way down. So see that this chain 2 space was the next one. Jump all the way down and do a double crochet, and then chain 2 to skip over the next one. So this line here carries up, so in order to get lines to carry up you have to jump over those. So chain 2 and then just come into the next one over here. The chain 2 space is next, and just come all the way down and do that. So you see it's kind of jumping on both sides of this. The next ones that you have is going to be 2 single crochets in a row, and then chain 2 to skip this next space, or skip this next stitch, and then jumping down. It's kind of really important that you know how to read these diagrams. So it's just like before, you see how they're jumping down on both sides of this, so you'll be doing the same thing. So chain 2, jump down to the next one that's over here, and then single crochet the next 2. Create a space by chaining 2 and then jump down again, and you're gonna do that all the way across. So make sure you maintain those spaces, and single crochet the next 2, and eventually you'll come to the other side. So keep this going right to the edge. So you're gonna jump down. This is the second last stitch, this jumping down, and then single crochet in the final. So take a look at it. Does it make sense? Yes or no? So if you see, and if anything doesn't look the same, like if that looked different than this one, you know something's off. So turn it around and match stitch to stitch, chain for chain, and I'll see you at the end of this row. We'll switch our color back and then move up on the diagram. So let's go through this diagram. So what we have is that the first one is going to be a single crochet, and then we're gonna skip this space. You'll notice that the line is now starting to carry up, so it's easy to be able to see where you are. The next one is gonna jump down, and then the next 2 are single crochets, and then you'll create a space and then jump down and then create a space and then jump down again and 2 in a row, and you'll do that all the way across. You're basically creating the opposite effect. So you see how you did it over here? You're essentially doing it here. So it's just a matter of changing where you did the repeating, that's all. So let's begin these next 2 rows. Okay, let's begin. We're gonna chain up 1 with the green and single crochet in the first one, and then you're gonna create a skip space. So chain 2, and then the next one is gonna come down here. So you're gonna create that line to keep on going up. So come on over, and then single crochet the next 2 in a row. Just like you see there. So now what we have to do is that we have to chain 2 and skip that next stitch, and then jumping down into the next one. Chain 2 to skip over, and then jump down in the next one. Neat, right? So let's carry on. So you're just gonna chain or single crochet the next 2, chain 2 to skip the next one, and then come on down, chain 2, and then come on down, and keep doing that all the way across, and then single crochet the next 2, chain 2, come on down, chain 2, and you're at the edge, so you're just gonna single crochet in the last one. So you're just jumping over that one that you need to skip. So turn around, match stitch to stitch, chain for chain, and we're very close to finishing the first repeat of this key. Okay, let's go for the brown once again, and you're gonna notice that there's gonna be a lot of brown going across. So we're just gonna keep on going where it needs to jump down. You're gonna jump down, and what you're paying attention to is this one line that still needs to come up, and we'll be jumping over those lines with the chain 2 space as we're continuing along. So it's essentially like you did down here, but you're doing up here. So it's just a matter of just changing positions a little bit, and then we still have 2 more rows to complete in order to finish this concept. So let's move on to these 2 rows here. So let's begin the next row. You're gonna chain up 1, and the first 6 in a row are each going to be a stitch. So that was 1, and then the next one has to drop down. This is 2, and then keep on going. So 3, 4, 5, and the 6th one is the drop. So you'll see the key is taking shape. And now we have to jump over this line here so that we can continue to main it. So chain 2, and then jumping over to the next one. And so it's gonna be the next 5 in a row. So the remaining of the repeat are 5 in a row. So that's 1, and then 2, 3, 4, and then the 5th one drops. Okay, and then chain 2, jump over this line here, and come right into the next one, and then again it's gonna be 5 in a row. So you'll do that all the way across to be able to maintain that pattern. Chain 2, you want to jump. So after the jump and it's near the edge, you just single crochet in the final. So now we're gonna turn, match stitch to stitch, chain for chain. So we just got 2 more rows to do, and then we'll carry on from that point. So back in the diagram, we're going to then take the green color, and we're gonna just single crochet across. When it needs to jump down, you'll jump down, and this will define the remaining of this key completely. You'll come back and just single crochet across every stitch, and then if you want to change color like it does in the Afghan, the next 2 rows will be a new color, and then whatever color that you want the key then will be there. So you can see that there's 4 stitches, or sorry, 4 rows in between, and the 1 row is the one that will be jumping down here in order to make that happen. So let's continue the next 2 rows, and then we'll be covering the border next. So we're gonna chain up 1, and we're just gonna single crochet across, except for when you need to drop down. So I'm not worrying about creating any more additional spaces at this point because the block is being defined. And when I need to drop, I'm gonna drop. So just, you can see there's a space to drop down, and then keep on going across. So the next row is just a single crochet row all the way back, and then if you want to change the colors you can, or if you want to keep on the striping looking the same. I've been to Greece, and you know, I'm thinking about the Parthenon and all the tourist sites that I saw, you know, this kind of coloring of the greens with the trees and the rocks and everything with the browns and stuff really kind of resonated with me. That's why I chose these colors. So coming all the way back, so okay, so going there, you can see the keys in, and then turning around and then using the same color to go all the way back. So match out every stitch the stitch, which is just a single crochet in each all the way back. So there'd be one stripe if you wanted to do it. You could actually do this for edging of a border too if you wanted to. So if you had a regular afghan, you could always apply as long as it was in multiples of 6 and then 3 extra stitches. So if you're starting a fresh chain, it's multiples of 6 plus 4, but if it's something that exists, it's multiples of 6 plus 3. So let's do the border. It consists of 2 rounds. And so the first round, what we need to do is that we need to define and capture those strands. So this is an intermediate level, so I'm not gonna go too hard on this. So you're just gonna join in, and when you do the side edging, you want to capture these strands underneath the stitches. So you're just gonna single crochet in the corners. You will have 3 single crochets, so you might as well apply one right in the corner itself, and just put 1 stitch in each of the side of the rows. And when you have these stitches or these strands that are on top, just bury them underneath the stitch, not behind the stitch but right underneath, so that it gets stuck into position, and therefore you don't have to worry about all those cut strands as you work your way up. Okay, so they're just buried right in behind, or sorry, right underneath the stitches. So just keep on grabbing them, and if it's a loose straggler like that, once you get enough of it in, you can just safely just let the rest of it be and just cut it later, and just keep on moving on. So the corners will each have 3 single crochets in them, so nice and easy to do. And so you're just gonna go 3 single crochets in the corner, and then just keep on matching. So now you're on the top of it, so you can see each stitch, and then the other side, because there's no cut strands there, work your way evenly down this side. When you're ready to get all the way back, then all you're just gonna do in the final round is just a reverse single crochet. To do that, let's just review. So you chain 1, and then you come into the stitch right before it, so just in right before, and then yarning over, pulling it through and through. Let me bring you in a little bit closer to see that. So then just come to the next stitch before it, okay, so in before, and yarning over, scooping it up, and then pull through 2, and then go to the one before again. And it takes a little bit of getting used to. Once you get the first few in there, it gets easier, and you'll see the effect of it after the 3rd stitch of what the reverse single crochet looks like. It's also called the crab stitch itself, and so you can see this is be the final look of it going all the way around. So every stitch gets the reverse single crochet, so you don't need to worry about turning corners as far as adding more stitches on a corner, and this will trace the whole thing and it will look really quite cool. So this will be how you do the Greek key blanket. It's pretty easy generally. It's one of the easier mosaics that I've done, and I think it's a lot of fun. So this is it for now. This is the striped Greek key throw by yarnspirations.com on behalf of Red Heart. We'll have a good one, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye bye.